I am so excited about this video because these 2 weeks of sales that I'm going to talk about in this video were insane. You have no idea. Let's just jump right into it. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I am a part-time reseller on a bunch of different platforms, and you're going to hear me talk about quite a few platforms today. I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I know how to count? Yeah, 5 different platforms represented in today's video, and I'll just get it out in the open right from the beginning. The main reason that I did so well in this 2-week span is because of Whatnot. If you watch this video right here, you know that I did this big Whatnot marathon over the course of 10 days, and it was insane. And it was insane in a lot of really good ways, also in some kind of tough ways. And if you want to hear more about that experience, again, you can check out that video. But holy cow, was it a great week of sales. And if this is the kind of content that you like, just hearing about what kinds of things are selling for resellers, especially from someone like me who is a part-time reseller, definitely make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that YouTube lets you know when I upload more videos like this. But we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into that first week of sales, and we will be talking about on May 27th, which was a Monday, and that was actually Memorial Day. I'm trying to remember. I don't think I ran sales necessarily. No, I didn't. I was like, I can't run sales because I was getting ready for my Whatnot marathon that started on the 29th of May. And I was like, I just don't have the capacity in the midst of trying to source all these items and film all these haul videos. I don't have the capacity or the bandwidth to also try to run a sale. So I didn't really do anything, still some things sold. So the first sale that we'll talk about from Memorial Day was over on Mercari, and it was this pair of Salomon Kalalau Ortholite trail running athletic sneaker shoes in a women's size 8.5. Those I had purchased from a local consignment store, and I had $4.25 into them. They were definitely marked down as part of some sort of sale. They sold for $27, and so I made a net profit of $22.75. Those actually sold on May 20th, but were not recorded in the last what sold video, so I just went ahead and included them in this one. But I got those in April of 2023, so by no means were these a quick flip. Salomon is a great brand, but I definitely had them priced higher and took an offer here. Also on the 27th on Poshmark, I had a couple sales, and they were both pretty good. The first one was kind of surprising. It was this dress by Eliza J, and it was this blue lace ruffle 3/4 sleeve bell sleeve dress in a women's size 12. I also put the word wedding in the listing title because I felt like this was something that people could wear to a wedding. I don't know. But it sold for $50, which again was kind of surprising because a lot of times Eliza J just does not sell that well for me. I think it being a bigger size definitely helped. And who knows, maybe someone was really looking for a dress to wear to a wedding. I only had $4.29 into that because I purchased it from a reseller who comes into town a few times a year. She visits her mom, and her mom run a joint garage sale right by my school. And at this point, we've gotten to know each other pretty well because I have bought so much clothes off of her. So she'll always sell me clothing at wholesale pricing, which means she just lets me purchase items for the price that she paid for it initially, especially because she's just kind of trying to get rid of a lot of her more contemporary pieces so she can focus on vintage. So I got this from her for $4.29. I think for that particular trip to her garage sale, I figured out my average cost of goods, and that's what it was. And so my net profit on that Eliza J dress was $35.71. That's pretty good for Eliza J. Also on Poshmark on Memorial Day, I sold this Jaded Gypsy, which is a brand that I talk about fairly often. It is a brand that I find at a pop-up consignment sale that comes into my town about twice a year. There is one consignor who has a lot of this brand, and she will sell off a lot of it at the sale, and it is a great brand. So it was this yellow oversized graphic dandelion tee. It was oversized. Oh, I put the word oversized 2 times in the listing title. That's not awesome, but it was a boxy t-shirt. I used the word boho. It was in a size small medium. I am not looking at what it looks like right now, but if I remember correctly, I think there was like some text on the front, but it sold for $42. I did have $17 into it from that consignment sale, and my net profit was only $16.60. So I probably did pay a little too much for it, but I didn't, knowing that there's a little bit of room to make some money, and it was a quick flip, so I'll take it. And then on May 28th, which was a Tuesday, on eBay, I started off with this new with tags, City Triangles, blue satin one-shoulder dress in a junior size 5. I did put the word like formal and wedding in the listing title, and that sold for $16 on eBay. I did have nothing into it because my sister-in-law gave it to me for free, so my net profit on that was $13.23. That did take forever to sell. City Triangles, I'm trying to remember like where it sold. I feel like it sold at like Macy's. I don't know. It might be sold at other places too. It's not a great brand. Like, don't pick up this brand being like,
oh, it's going to sell for a ton.
Most likely it will not. So there you go. So moving on to May 29th. This is when I began my Whatnot extravaganza or Whatnot marathon or whatever you want to call it. And basically, to summarize what I did, for 10 days in a row, I had a haul video go up each day. And then the following day, I would get on Whatnot and I would do a live show selling off the items that I showed in the previous day's haul video on YouTube. So it was a video up on YouTube one day, and the next day I would sell those items on Whatnot. And I just like kept going. So for 10 days straight, there was a haul video on my YouTube channel. And for 10 days straight, I was live on Whatnot. It was madness.
This is madness. It's madness, I tell you, for the love of God, Monica, don't do it!
But holy cow, did it pay off. I think it was something about like the consistency. I also did like bring really great items to my sales because I was like, you know what, no holds barred. Like, I'm just gonna bring my best. Like, I was bringing Alphalete and Tom Brown and Johnny Was. Like, I was bringing amazing stuff to my shows, and I think that helps. I think, the better your stuff is, the more people are gonna bid up. But over the course of 10 days, I sold approximately 638 items. I did $5,501.25 in sales. I'm going to estimate that I had about $1,800 into those items. That was my cost of goods. And I'm saying that I made a net profit on Whatnot of $2,727.24. That is obscenely high. I, oftentimes don't even do that amount in a month. And so to have done that in 10 days is pretty incredible. And you'll notice as I talk about the rest of my sales for, the remainder of the 2 weeks that we're talking about in today's video, they weren't amazing. And that's because I was not listing during that 10-day period. Honestly, like a 15-day period when you factor in all of the sourcing and filming and stuff that I had to do. But I was not listing. I was not like really doing anything on my other platforms. On Poshmark, I was still sharing my closet and stuff thanks to a Chrome extension called Posher VA, which just, shares my closet, sends out offers to likers for me, that sort of thing. And if you want to check out Posher VA, I do have a coupon code down below in the description that you can use, but I wasn't doing very much with my other platforms, and it showed, but it didn't really matter because I was killing it on Whatnot. So that was amazing. So moving on to just regular normal sales now. On the 30th of May, which was a Thursday, on eBay, I had a couple sales. First one, it was kind of funny because it was this vintage chaps Ralph Lauren green ski alpine sweater in a men's size medium. This was heavily flawed. It had like a couple holes basically on the back. This is something that I got from a wholesale company, like a vintage wholesale company called Fleek. I did a partnership with them maybe like 2 years ago at this point, and they sent me some inventory for free. I did pay a little bit just because I went over the amount that they gave me to spend. So I had about $1.82 into this. This sold for $5. And what's funny about this sale is that it sold for $5 because I did have it in one of my Whatnot shows. Some of the items that I had for sale in my Whatnot shows were items that I already had listed, but I was so sick of looking at them at that point that I was like, let me just throw them in some shows and see if I can get them to move. And I thought this was a cool piece. Yes, it did have, like I said, some pretty major flaws, but it was that typical like, grandpa sweater type of situation. It was vintage. It was really cool. And sometimes those holes and those kinds of things just add character. But even at the Whatnot show, nobody bid on it and it was fine. But then what was so cool is Teresa, who was in my Whatnot show, or maybe she wasn't on Whatnot, maybe she saw like the multicast that I did over on YouTube that was basically my Whatnot show, but just being shown on YouTube. Essentially, though, she was like, I'm not on Whatnot, but I saw that you had this sweater for sale. I'm not trying to lowball you or anything, but you were doing a starting bid of 3. Can I offer you 5? And I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. And she actually is a repeat buyer of mine on eBay. So I went ahead and sold her this sweater for $5. Like I said, I had it for quite some time and I was very happy to just get rid of it and move it along to a new home. And so my net profit on that was $3.95. But Teresa, thank you so much. I hope you're able to love on this sweater and wear it often because it's really cool. It just needs a little love. The next sale also on eBay was another Jaded Gypsy piece. I picked up a lot of Jaded Gypsy the last time I went to this pop-up sale. It was in May, and I probably got at least 10 pieces by Jaded Gypsy, but this was a pair of jeans, and the style name was On the Road. They were cropped, pinstriped, and patched log and look jeans in a women's size small medium. Those sold on eBay for $80. They were promoted at 3% as well. I actually got a comment on last week's What Sold video and someone was asking me for my thoughts on promoted listings on eBay. I do feel like when platforms create features like that, marketing features, they do tend to reward those who utilize them. I don't think you need to go crazy with it. I only promote all of my listings at 3%, but even in this week's What Sold video, I'll tell you every time a listing sold as a result of promoted listings. And it's a lot. It's like probably 50% or more of my sales came from promoted listings. So do I think it's worth it? I do. And you don't have to invest that much to play their game with them. You know, I used to just promote at 1% and I did, believe it or not, make sales at that 1% promoted tier. But I do think obviously the more you promote, the more you can make. You can kind of play the game where items that may not be as popular, and especially if you've had pieces for a long time, maybe you promote them a little bit higher just to kind of help more eyes see those items. I don't really like have the time or the energy to play that game. So I just promote everything at 3% and I've been pretty happy with that. And then I also had a couple Poshmark sales this day as well. So the first sale was this pair of Nike Air Zoom Strong Orange 800 training shoes in a women's size 10. Those I picked up at a local consignment store for $4.55. I believe that was during a birthday sale of theirs. I got a $28 offer on those and I very happily accepted because I'd had them since 2022, like July of 2022. It had almost been 2 years. And so my net profit was $17.85. And I think the reason I had them for so long is because the laces were not in the best shape. And I know I could have like gone out and just bought, you know, different laces. Again, I don't really want to put that much energy into things. Like I would rather hold on to an item for close to 2 years and just let it sit in my bin and just keep sharing the item and like putting the item on sale rather than going out and buying laces. I don't know. Plus, if you've watched my channel, you know that I just don't know a lot about Nike. I don't even know if these are really good shoes or not, but I did make some money on them, so there you go. The last Poshmark sale of this day was this We the Free Dahlia washed flare sleeve thermal top in a women's size extra small. It did have a small keyhole and it sold for $25. That was actually something that I had thrifted for myself and I think I wore it a couple times, but man, Free People pieces are super oversized. And even though I am a size extra small, this honestly fit more like a medium or a large. And I was just swimming in it. Like I looked kind of crazy in it. So I decided to go ahead and list it. And that's one of the nice things about being a reseller is when you don't have a use for something anymore, you just sell it online, and that's pretty cool. And then on May 31st, which was a Friday, on Mercari, I had my second Mercari sale, and it was this Lulu's Found Your Love black lace sleeveless trumpet midi dress in a women's size extra large. I picked this up at the pop-up consignment sale as well. And listen, I had told myself, I'm done with Lulu's. I'm not going to pick it up anymore. And that's because I went through a phase where I picked it up almost any time that I saw it. And I just had so much Lulu's. Like it just does not move very well. Plus I feel like a lot of Lulu's that I would find was all like extra small. And I just kind of like swore off it. I saw this dress though, and I was like, I feel like this dress is special. Plus, it was in a bigger size. It was a size extra large, and it was just like this gorgeous black dress, and it just had some substance to it. It had like a built-in bustier corset, not corset, but just like a bustier type thing, and it just was really nice. I looked up comps for this while I was at the pop-up consignment sale, and comps were good. Like, this was consistently selling around like $50, $60, $70. So I picked it up for $14. It sold for $45, and I was willing to go lower than a lot of the comps because it sold on Mercari. And on Mercari, you do not have to pay any fees. And so it was honestly kind of the same thing as if it had sold on like Poshmark for like $55, $60-ish. So I just went ahead and took the offer. I made a net profit of $31, and that sold pretty quickly. So especially like the more longer length Lulu's pieces, again, if there's something special about it, like a built-in bustier or, things like that, if it's in a bigger size, it might be worth the pickup. On the 31st on Poshmark, I sold this pair of Saucony Grid XT500 running athletic shoes in a size 5.5. This is a super old listing. I don't know when this is from. I know it's super old for a couple of reasons. One, I just know it's super old. I've not picked up Saucony in the past like 3 years. I would guess that this is at least 3 to 4 years old. Also, I can tell that this is an older listing because I've maybe used like 50 characters of my listing title. I know better now. I know that if they're giving you 80 characters to write out a good, full, complete descriptive listing, I better try to get as close to 80 characters as possible. I used like 50 here. So these shoes sold, however, after 3 to 4 years of being listed for $21, and I made a net profit of $16.80. I don't even remember where I got that. I'm just gonna say I didn't have any money into it. I don't know, that's probably not true, but whatever. This is weird. I'm gonna tell you about an eBay sale and then I'll come back to Poshmark for this day. But on eBay, I sold this pair of Star Wars swim trunks in a men's size large. They had like Darth Vader and Han Solo and Princess Leia on them. Like, are these things worth a lot? I don't think so, but these just came to my house as part of a reseller buyout. So I was like, sure, I'll go ahead and list them. They sold for $11.90. This was a promoted sale in case you're keeping track. And I only had $2 into them because, like I said, they came in a bulk reseller buyout. And so my net profit on those swimming trunks was $11.75. So going back to some Poshmark sales from the 31st, I sold this pair of Good American, Good Legs, high-rise skinny jeans in a size 8. They were made of organic cotton, and they did have some stretch to them because there was spandex. I don't know why I said it like that. Spandex. They sold for $50. I had $8 into them, and I got them at the pop-up consignment sale. So my net profit was $32. Good American used to sell really fast and for really good money. It's definitely slowed down quite a bit, but I do also think the reason for that is because I only seem to find Good American jeans that are like skinny jeans. So, let me know if you have experience with kind of newer styles and newer trends in Good American jeans, but I feel like I'm a lot more careful now about what Good American pieces I pick up. Also on Poshmark, I sold this pair of Ralph Lauren Sport pink gingham checkered shorts in a women's size 12. I did put the keywords preppy and classic in the title. These sold for $17. I had $3.85 into them from a different reseller buyout, and so my net profit on those was $9.75. And I remember being kind of on the fence about if I even wanted to list these at all, but I did, and I was happy that I did because they sold really quickly, like under a month of being listed. And then kind of back to eBay for a couple sales. I sold this Adidas Amplifier tee, gray short sleeve t-shirt in a men's size large. I did put the words casual and athletic in the listing title. This I should not have listed. Who is looking for like super basic t-shirts like this on eBay and wants to pay a premium, right? Like there are t-shirts galore like this at Plato's Closet or even just, at anyone's local Goodwill or Goodwill outlet. But I got this in a men's ThredUp rescue box. I had about $3 into each item that I got from that box. And again, this is from like 3-4 years ago. So I'm saying I had $3 into this. My net profit was negative $1.59. But let me tell you, I did not care because I had just made a net profit of like $2,000 something from whatnot. So a negative $1.50 here and there. It wasn't going to kill me. The next eBay sale was this pair of Robert Wayne tan leather slip-on loafers in a men's size 9.5. Again, I put words like classic, office, dress shoes in the listing title. These sold for $20 on eBay, and I actually didn't have any money into them because my mother-in-law gave them to me for free. Where did they come from? I don't know. I don't know why she just has things like this and is able to pass them on to me, but she does, and I'm very grateful. So I made a net profit of $18.85 on those shoes. Moving on to June 1st, I was still in the thick of it when it came to Whatnot, and in fact, this was probably one of the worst weekends of my life, the 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd, and that's because that weekend, I did, a show on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I saved all of my shipping up for Sunday night. And I'm not joking you when I say I think I shipped for 6 hours straight. Maybe longer, actually, but I was shipping out like hundreds of items. And then to add insult to injury, I also had like regular sales from regular platforms to ship out too. Like it was insane. I filled so many IKEA bags and Panera catering bags with inventory, and it was like wonderful. It was a great problem, but holy cow, was it intense. It was a lot. But on the 1st, on Poshmark, I sold this Zenergy by Chico's snap button ruched jacket in a Chico size 0, which is like a women's size 4. It was like a coral color, I would say. That sold for $12, and I have had this since we were on lockdown for COVID. I got it from a local consignment store. I would just go to like their storage unit where all of their inventory was being stored while they weren't allowed to open their doors. So I would go in by myself because I built up a good enough relationship with them that they trusted me to be in there. I would fill up garbage bags. They charged me by the garbage bag. And that way they were able to make some money. I was able to get some inventory. Everyone won. So I had about 80 cents into that item. It was the best sourcing opportunity of my life. Like, holy moly. And I made a net profit of $8.25. The next sale from the 1st was over on Depop. And it was this pair of Levi's 514 black straight fit jeans in a men's size 34 by 32. I put words like neutral and pockets and casual denim in the listing title. I honestly probably should have put like grunge or I don't know, but they sold for $24. Now on Depop, I do build the price of shipping into the listing price, but this was an offer that I got and I knew that I would probably have to pay close to $9 for shipping, but I was just trying to like move things and accept offers knowing that I wasn't investing any time into listing new inventory. So I went ahead and accepted. I only had $3 into that from a local consignment store, but because I also paid for shipping, after shipping, cost of goods, and Depop's fees, my net profit came out to $8.55. But that was a pretty quick flip. I had picked them up in April, so they sold within like a month and a half. And then on the 1st, I also had a sale on eBay. So on June 1st, I sold 3 items across 3 different platforms during a time when I wasn't even listing new inventory. And that's because of List Perfectly. List Perfectly is a Chrome extension that I use to keep track of all of my inventory. That's where I am able to put all of the information that I share with you regarding like how much I spend on everything, regarding how long I hold on to items, where I picked up the item. But it also allows me to cross-list to many different platforms very quickly and efficiently. They also have a lot of new features that they've released, things like auto delist, which means that, like for example, when I sold that Zenergy by Chico's jacket on Poshmark, List Perfectly saw that and they marked that listing as sold on Poshmark, and they went ahead and ended that listing on all of the other platforms that it was listed on. So that's a really great time-saving tool. They came out with like a Poshmark closet sharing tool. They're just always thinking about what's going to make life easier for resellers, and you gotta love that. You gotta appreciate that. So I do have a coupon code for List Perfectly down in the description below to help you save 30% off of your first month with List Perfectly. Moving on to June 2nd, which was a Sunday. On eBay, I sold this Gap Factory black short sleeve cotton polo shirt in a men's size small. Why did I sell this? I don't know. Like, why did I even go through the time to photograph and list this item? Gap Factory, this probably cost like $4 in the store. And I sold it for $4.90 on eBay. That was an offer that I sent out to someone. And I made a net profit of $3.04. So, I didn't lose money on it, but like, you guys don't need to be listing your Gap Factory polo shirts. Unless you have like 10 of them and you're gonna lot them together, then maybe it's worth it. But no. The next thing to sell on the 2nd on eBay was this Polo Ralph Lauren blue waffle knit hooded long sleeve shirt in a men's size medium. This sold for $14. That was promoted on eBay, so that's another tally for promoted listings. I had $3.47 into it from a local consignment store's birthday sale, and so my net profit on that was $6.97. Again, I probably could have made more money on that had I waited, but I got the $14 offer, and I was like, again, I am not putting any energy into my reselling platforms aside from Whatnot, so sure, I'll just go ahead and accept it. So let me share my first week's numbers with you. I did a gross sales amount, and this is because of Whatnot. And to be fair, Whatnot did bleed into the second week as well, but I didn't want to like sit there and figure out like, oh, this much profit was from here. I'm just going to pretend like Whatnot only happened in that first week. But my gross sales amount was $6,087.73 for 1 week. I already explained how that's going to work, but holy moly, that's insane. Because oftentimes I don't even do that much in a month, but my cost of goods for those items was $1,897.03. And so my net profit for that week was $3,070.76, which again is crazy. That's crazy for me. I am not accustomed to moving that many pieces and making that kind of money in a week, but it felt really good. I'm not going to lie. All right, so my very first sale from the second week of sales that we're going to talk about in today's video, that date is June 3rd, which was a Monday. And on Poshmark, I sold this pair of Rock & Republic Emo Dark Wash mid-rise skinny jeans in a women's size 8. They did have pockets. They sold for $18. I had $3.85 into them from a reseller buyout, and my net profit was $10.55. Rock & Republic is not a brand that I pick up very often. I don't feel like it does very well, so I typically just kind of leave it alone. Let me know what your thoughts are on Rock & Republic as a denim brand. Does it do well for you, or does it pretty consistently sell around that $20 mark the way that it does for me? And then the last sale from this first week that we'll talk about was over on eBay, and it was this pair of Sam Edelman Rodney gray snake print Diorce pointed toe flats in a women's size 6. Those sold for $22. They were promoted at 3%. I had $5 into them from the pop-up consignment sale, and so my net profit was $12.92. Again, had I waited, I probably would have made a little bit more money on those. They would have definitely sold for more than 22, but I was just saying yes when people were sending me offers because I knew that otherwise there just wasn't enough activity in my other reselling platforms to keep them alive. And so I was fine with moving those at the price that I did, still made some money on them. There you go. On Tuesday, which was June 4th, on eBay, okay, I had a couple sales, and the first one was kind of sad, and it was entirely my fault. I sold this Ivanka Trump cream down-filled full zip hooded winter coat in a women's size 8. It sold for good money. I don't remember how much it sold for, but I made negative dollars on that, and here's why. I sold it to a repeat buyer. I feel like this repeat buyer is a viewer. This person's name is Reese, and she reached out to me in the nicest way possible and was like, I love this jacket. You shipped it out so quickly. Like, everything was great. But the lining, she told me, like on the inside of the jacket, had a couple rips. And I had not seen those, and I did not disclose them. And so I felt so bad. And she was like, I just wanted to let you know in case, maybe like there were other items from that particular sale or whatever. Like, I think she was just kind of being like, hey, I just wanted to let you know so that you know to maybe check the lining of other jackets and things like that, which again, she could not have said this in a nicer way. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry. Let me send you a refund. And she's like, do not refund me. She was like, I'm going to just try to make it work. She's like, do not refund me. I just wanted to let you know. I refunded her, of course, because any other person, had it not been a viewer, had it not been someone who had purchased from me before, they would have probably just, returned the item, and for good reason. There's these rips on the inside, and that's irritating. That's annoying every time you try to put that coat on. And so I just sent her a refund, and I did lose $8.91. That's a combination of the amount that I paid to ship it out to her as well as my cost of goods, which was only $2 because it was part of a reseller buyout. So yes, I lost money on that sale, but it's more important to me to do right by my customers the best that I can. I hate it when I find out that I sent something to someone in a different condition than how I stated it. So again, she was like the sweetest about it in letting me know. And I just felt like that was the right thing to do. And then also on the 4th, also on eBay, I had a monster sale. I'm being sarcastic, it was not. It was this Chico's Travelers floral sleeveless top in a Chico size 2, which was a women's size large. This sold for $10 on eBay. Now, to its credit, it sold really fast. I've had it in my possession forever because I never wanted to list it. I only had $2 into it from a reseller buyout. But once I did get it listed, about 2 years after receiving the item, it sold within a matter of maybe a couple weeks. And my net profit was $6.20. So even though something isn't really your jam, not really your vibe, list it. You never know who's looking for that exact item. And then on the 5th of June, which was a Wednesday, on Poshmark, I sold this pair of Mephisto Yael, I don't know if I'm saying that right, that's the style name, metallic silver leather sneakers in a women's size 10. I did put the words comfort and casual in the listing title because Mephisto is known for being a comfort brand. I want to say Mephisto was related to Birkenstock. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just pulling that out of my butt, but I think it is. And so those sold for a lot less than I was thinking. They sold for $18 on Poshmark, but I think it's because once I got them home, I noticed that there were quite a few flaws on them. There was just a lot of discoloration on the outside, and you could tell it was probably just from the previous owner using their shoe to take off the other shoe. You know how you do that? You kind of kick your shoe off with your shoe at the heel. So there was some discoloration there. And also they had the little not padding. You know how you can put those little things on the back of your shoe so that you won't get blisters and stuff. So they had that too, which honestly, I don't think I would ever want to buy a pre-owned pair of shoes that had that on it. I don't know why. I've bought pre-owned shoes many times in the past. That just weirds me out though. You know what I mean? If that little patch is there, I don't know. But I had picked these up at a Goodwill about an hour and a half away. I was there with some students for a conference. So while they were rehearsing, I was thrifting. I paid $5.99 for those. I made a net profit of $8.41, which is not a ton, but I don't think, like I said, I paid very close attention to the quality or condition of these shoes when I bought them. So that's on me. Also on the 5th on Poshmark, I sold this pair of Lululemon Luon Plum Stretch Flare Wide Leg Yoga Groove Pants in a women's size 10. Those sold for $35. I had $5 into them from the garage sale where she sells me all of her stuff at wholesale pricing. And so my net profit on those pants was $23. The next sale was amazing. And the next sale really went to one of the most beautiful souls I've ever had the pleasure of encountering from this reselling journey. So it was this Magnolia Pearl California Surfs Up graphic t-shirt. Magnolia Pearl, if you know, is typically one size fits all or one size fits most. It was gray, and I put the word beach on there just because it had a beach scene, but very boho, very oversized, very Magnolia Pearl. I had picked this up at the pop-up consignment sale. I had $38 into this shirt because I did purchase it on the half off day of the pop-up consignment sale. I had it listed on all of my platforms for $129.99. Casey, who I got to know and interact with a ton on Whatnot during my 10-day Whatnot streak, Casey, who had already spent a lot of money with me on Whatnot, came over on eBay and bought this just at my full asking price of $129.99. And she was like, I just wanted to get this from you. I've always wanted some Magnolia Pearl. And she said, I just wanted to also provide a way for you guys to have a little extra spending money when you guys go on your vacation to LA. I just, who does that? you know, like, I don't know, they're just amazing people in the world. And I am so lucky and so blessed that those people want to help me and support me in that way. I don't know, it's just amazing. So Casey, if you are watching, thank you for this purchase. Thank you for your support on Whatnot and the many purchases over there. First of all, I hope you love everything. I hope you're satisfied with everything, but you are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this sale, let's see, it gave me a net profit of $71.32. And yes, we did use that in LA and then some. Like, we spent a good amount of money in LA because LA is not cheap. But Casey, thank you. I love you. You're the best. The next sale that we'll talk about from the 5th is over on Poshmark, and it was this pair of Talbot's Flawless 5-pocket slim ankle olive green jeans in a women's size 4. I did put the word classic in the listing title. They sold for $25. I did have $3 into them from a local consignment store, and my net profit was $17. Again, that was a pretty quick flip. I'd never get excited about this kind of stuff from Talbot's. Like, I always know that Talbot's is a good seller, and, I know that some things are better than others when it comes to Talbot's. This is not the type of thing that I would recommend to the world to pick up from Talbot's, especially with it also being a little bit smaller of a size. But I had just picked up those pants in April. So again, they were probably only listed for a month, if even that. So that was a pretty quick flip and a pretty good profit for especially the amount of time that it took for that to sell. The last sale from the 5th was over on eBay, and it was this exclusively Miss Sook black short sleeve dress in a women's size small. I put words like classic and neutral in the listing title. That sold for $35 on eBay. I had $385 into it from a reseller buyout, and so my net profit was $26.14. I don't know. I used to get excited about exclusively Miss Sook, and I would pick it up in the past, and it always sat for me. It never did super well for me, but this was a pretty good sale, I would say. Nothing super exciting, but I'm glad that it sold for the amount that it did, and it honestly was not listed for very long either. And then on the 6th of June, which was a Thursday, on eBay, I sold this The Normal brand, that was the brand name, The Normal brand, blue checkered short sleeve button-up shirt in a men's size medium. That sold for $14.90 because it was an offer that I sent out to watchers, and I made a net profit of $11.74. I didn't have any money into it because that's something that my husband wore. I remember thrifting that probably at a Goodwill or something. No, actually, I remember I got it at a local consignment store. So I got it for him. I think he wore it a handful of times, and he was like, I don't need this. He was like, I just never reach for it. Just go ahead and list it. So I did, and I made a little bit of money. On June 7th, which was a Friday, I would call it a bittersweet sale. I sold another Magnolia Pearl piece, and I think that I'm now officially out of Magnolia Pearl. I had picked up maybe 4 or 5 pieces from the past pop-up consignment sale, but I think they're all gone now. So this was the My Sun top. I think that was the style name. And it was a yellow eyelet floral tunic. I put that it was in a women's size small, even though Magnolia Pearl is one of those brands that also likes to say that it's one size fits all or one size fits most. But that's because most of their pieces are just super oversized, they're login look, they're just baggy, and there's not really any shape to them. This one had shape. This one had a clearly defined, here's where the underarms are. It was a lot more structured. It wasn't just all loosey-goosey. And I didn't feel right putting one size fits most when that really was not the case with this particular top. So I did go ahead and, provide measurements like I always do of the underarms and the length. And I just looked at kind of a generic size chart to see, based on the underarm measurements, what women's sizing is this? And it came back as small. And again, I just don't feel right saying that something is going to fit everyone when it's actually the measurements of most garments that are in a size small. So I did put that it was in a women's size small, and I did put the word boho in the title. This was beautiful. It had a high neck with ruffles on it. It had big patches on it. It was a really cool piece. This was bittersweet because it did sell on eBay first, and it sold on eBay for my full asking price, I believe, or maybe it was a little bit less. It sold for $300 or $325 or something like that. but the person returned it because she said that it didn't smell good and she thought it was like faded. I don't remember exactly why. And I shared this with you in a previous What's Sold video. It did sell again though once I got it back and like checked it over very carefully because this happened in that same span of time as my Johnny Was return, and that had gotten returned to me, not in the same condition that I had sent it out to her. So I looked it over very carefully, but everything was great. Just for good measure, I like did some Febreze, like, what is it? Like, there's that Febreze that you do for clothing. So I did some of that and just kind of like had it hang in my laundry room for a while. I didn't really detect any scent from it, but I was like, well, maybe it'll be nicer to have like a fresh scent. I don't know. So it sold on Poshmark this time for $250. And the reason why I say that that's bittersweet is because Poshmark takes the biggest cut, right? Like if something sells on eBay or, oh my gosh, especially Mercari, especially on a bigger ticket item like this, that's exciting, but for it to sell on Poshmark is kind of like, meh. I had $110 into it, and so my net profit was $90, and I did pick that up at the pop-up consignment sale. On June 8th, I had no sales. That was a Saturday, and actually that weekend, so like the 7th, 8th, and 9th, I had finished my whatnot spree, but I did go on a church retreat, so literally like the 6th, I was up very late packing. And then on the 7th, that morning, I made sure that my porch pickup happened and all of my packages from the last sale were picked up and, taken with USPS. And then I left for a church retreat about like 2 hours away from where we live. And it was really fun. It was really great. It was like a good time of rest. And then shortly after that, we went to LA. So it was just a really long stretch of me not doing anything with my reselling platforms. And I'm sure that the next What Sold video is just going to be pitiful because it's going to be many days of no sales because I was on vacation. I had not listed. I'm still recovering. It's, I'm filming on July 1st. I'm very much still in recovery mode. Sales are pretty much non-existent, but that's okay. So why did I even bring that up? Okay. Oh, because I had no sales on the 8th, but on the 9th, which was a Sunday, on Poshmark, I sold this Prairie Underground sleeveless cowl neck dress in a women's size small. It was made of like a hemp blend. That sold for $42 on Poshmark. I had $5.99 into it from a local thrift store. I just think they didn't know what it was. And to be honest with you, it was it was an interesting dress. Like, I don't think that like just looking at it, I would have picked it up. But then when I looked at the brand name, I was like, oh, Prairie Underground, yeah, you're coming with me, especially for $5.99, absolutely. So sold for $42, I made a net profit of $27.61. But I did have that in my possession for a long time. I've had it since July of 2022, so it's been almost 2 years. Brand name by itself does not sell. And this is a good example of that. Prairie Underground is a pretty popular brand, or not even like popular, but like sought after. And it's not really super saturated on reselling platforms or anything like that either. But yeah, just brand alone is not going to sell an item. And I think that this is a good example of that. Also on the 9th on eBay, I sold this Talbot's blue and white printed sleeveless popover top in a women's size small petite. That sold for $14.99 on eBay. I believe that was my full asking price. And I only had $1 into that, and my net profit was $11.17. This is another good reselling lesson, which is don't just buy things because they're cheap, even if it's a brand that you like, because this was Talbot's. I like selling that brand, but it was a size small petite. It was like a little sleeveless, weighed nothing, just little popover situation. That's not going to sell for a lot. I mean, even at Talbot's, it's probably on sale for like $9.99. But the reason I bought it is because it was only $1. I was like, it's only $1? It's Talbot's? I'm going to get it. The fact that it was only $1 was not worth the amount of time that this took up space in my house. And so that's another good lesson when it comes to reselling. Number one is don't just buy things because of the brand name. And number two is don't just buy things, even if you like the brand, just because they're super cheap. You still want to make sure that there's value in the item in front of you. The next and last thing to sell was on Poshmark. It was this pair of Crocs Gianna, that was the style name, Link. They had like, I don't know, like a little fake gold chain on the front. Black ballet flat shoes. It was like a chain on the front. They were slip-on shoes. Obviously, it's Crocs. And they were in a women's size 8. Those sold for $25 on Poshmark. I only had $2 into those from the pop-up consignment sale, and my net profit on those was $18. And those sold wicked fast as well because I had picked them up in May and they sold in June. So that was a quick flip. Probably like they sold within a matter of a couple weeks. So let's talk about my numbers from the second week, and then I will tell you my numbers for the 2 weeks combined. And like I said, it just sounds really impressive because of what had happened on Whatnot. So in the second week, my gross sales was $668.88. My cost of goods was $187.66. And my net profit for the week, this was, definitely like in the midst of Whatnot and having not done a lot when it came to reselling, my net profit was $325.15. And that just goes to show like the less you put into your reselling business, the less you get out. So for the 2 weeks combined, on eBay, I sold 16 items, and that was for a gross sales amount of $501.36. There were some bigger ticket items in there, but there were also those like $3 sales that, I lost money on. But my cost of goods for those 16 items was $89.14, and my net profit on eBay for those 2 weeks was $254.84. I sold one item on Depop, and my gross sales amount was $24. My cost of goods for those black Levi's was $3, and my net profit was $8.55. On Mercari, I sold 2 items, and that was for a gross sales amount of $72. I had a cost of goods of $18.25 for those 2 items, and so my net profit on Mercari was $53.75. On Poshmark, I sold 15 items and had a gross sales amount of $658. My cost of goods was $174.32, and my net profit was $351.53 on Poshmark. And then there was Whatnot, where I sold 638 items. I had a gross sales amount of $5,501.25. My cost of goods was $1,800, and my net, and this is all approximate, okay? But I'm saying that my net profit was $2,727.24. So in total, for the 2 weeks, my gross sales amount was $6,756.61. My cost of goods was $2,084.71, and my net profit was $3,395. Whew. So yeah, if you want to see what happened on Whatnot, how I was able to get those kinds of numbers, again, I will have that video linked down below, actually, if you just want to learn a little bit more about Whatnot and my experience on that platform. And again, just how I got those numbers. But it was a great couple of weeks, even though now my reselling business is dead since I went on vacation and basically ignored my reselling platforms for a good, solid 3 weeks. But it's okay. I'll recover and it's going to be great. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. Thanks for still being with me all the way to the end. And if you're thinking to yourself, man, I really wish I could watch more What Sold videos from Becky, don't worry, I have a playlist right here and you can check it out. So thank you so much for hanging out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.